Previously on balls.co.za.
Jonathan, can you hear me?
I've got you, Blades. Sorry about that delay.
No problem about the delay. It sounds like you're in a coffee shop.
This is true.
This is true. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Can you switch that camera of yours on, Jonathan, if you have one?
I can try.
Don't tell me
It says
you...
no cap.
There we go.
The only problem is I don't know if I'll be able to hear you.
Can you hear us still?
How does that look?
Yeah,
Cut the face out.
if you could turn it away from your face, it would look good.
No, well, we don't need to see the ins and outs of Cape Town at all. Jonathan, morning to you. First of all, let me congratulate you, your involvement with UCT. And last week I said because it's raining Kata and Honda in Cape Town that I thought the Marties might be favoured, and you vociferously disagreed with me and had a very good point. Well done to UCT.
Yeah, thanks, Blades. You know, it's not often that I would be that confident, and especially against Marties. I mean, UCT have an appalling record in the last 30 years, 40 years against Marties. It's called a derby match, but in truth, it's not really, because Marties, have beaten us at least 90% of the time, probably even more than that. But in this particular year, we've got a really good team, and I couldn't see any really, places where we would be out-muscled or, out-thought. And I think we've got a really good team, a really good coaching staff, and I'm equally confident for the final. I know we have to travel again, but we've done reasonably well on the road. And besides the first game against Pika at home, where we were leading 16-0, playing into the wind, and then capitulated, this team's come a long way since then, and I'm hoping that they can deliver their best, because it'll certainly, if they can, it will be good enough for the final.
Yeah, great. Just I thought the performance of the Ike's tight head prop was outstanding in the scrums. He was.
That's exactly right, Blades. That's a bloke called Digby Webb, and in my opinion, the best tight head in the competition by a street, and will almost certainly want to play provincial rugby.
Oh, that's great. And also, young MacDonald, who won the Man of the Match award.
Yeah, I think he's won 3 Man of the Matches, and he's one of our most influential players. I'm not giving away state secrets, but he's obviously he's a great carrier of the ball. And what you guys don't know about him is that he's a bloke who hasn't had it easy in his life, and he's come into the varsity team, and he's just embraced everything that the university stands for, and he's as much an integral part of this team, if not more so than any of the other players. Just a fantastic, he's obviously got a very important role on the field, and he's a big unit, but he's really like a teddy bear. He's a fantastic bloke, Sean MacDonald.
Yeah, great. Great to see. Okay, we rely on interaction from our viewers and listeners. And so they are warming up to the fact that you're with us every Monday morning. And Peter Bodkin, he makes a little bit of a statement here. It seems like the refs are scared to make vital decisions in the matches, wasting time repeatedly referring to the TMO, TV ref, he puts it. Your comments?
Blades, I've mentioned this before. There's always going to be a trade-off here. And the trade-off is allowing and ensuring the referee the possibility of getting things right. And that will sometimes mean a referral. Sometimes it is a waste of time. I agree, totally agree. But I think the expectation of the public is that every time he refers it, that something will necessarily happen. And that can't be true. That simply can't be true. It can't hold true. So either you want the game to be run on an amateur basis, where referees will get many more things wrong by not referring it, or you will refer it and some of them will be a waste of time. My take on it, I don't know how you guys feel, but my take on it is that we've moved into a different era of professionalism now, This is a different era of rugby. It's not amateur rugby. It's not just throw the ball around, get the ball to the wings, and let them, run in and score tries. This game is a business now, and we need to treat it as a business. And part of that is about using technology in the best interests of the game.
Okay. I think that's Peter, I reckon, and the other viewers, I think it's a very good answer. And we made the point, Jonathan, and you made the point last week that we're not here to slate referees. We're here to give you, viewers and listeners, a better understanding of the laws of the game and what referees are doing, and so that you may enjoy the game more, and, by the way, may get a few less ulcers because you might stop shouting at your television screen. And so that may improve your viewership.
Blades, I'll just interrupt you there. It is one of my challenges because obviously I'm still a ref. I referee clubs, schools, and all sorts of other games.
Good, yeah.
Often ask me, how come you're bagging a ref? And I have to keep explaining to them that this platform is not about trying to pussyfoot around the issues. This platform is about giving the public access to information. If you're not really interested in information and you'd like that same level of knowledge that you had previously, in other words, the game being a meandering mess of confusion where you are not able to understand the critical ingredients of what it takes and makes to be a good referee and what it takes and makes to make good decisions, well, then this is not your program. Then you must watch other programs and listen to other mediums where they smooth out all the rough edges by not actually touching on what are real issues.
Okay, point taken. Jono, any points to bring up about the weekend's rugby?
Look, Blaze, just if you're looking at the big picture, I thought the Sharks' performance against the Waratahs was an exceptional performance. I really do rate this Waratahs team, and I was a bit concerned. Well, not concerned. I thought the scrum matchup would actually be a very good one, and I think the Sharks got the better of that. Didn't really surprise me in any way, but I do know that they have not done well against the Waratahs in recent years, and I think someone mentioned the stat of losing 10 out of the last 12. I thought they absolutely bossed them the whole game. I know there's a slanted penalty count of 19-8, which Michael Cheika is going on about. And there was a fair amount of niggle in the game. There was a swinging arm which should have been a yellow card, which wasn't. But I thought the Sharks' performance was pretty dominant and pretty indicative of the way their season is going. And I thought the referee, Mike Fraser, who I really do think he's an excellent referee, not so much because he's a high flyer and he'll go on to referee the World Cup final, but more because he is a no-nonsense, common-sense referee who's really interested in process and getting the results right in the game. So I really just want to congratulate the Sharks because I think that was a very, very good South African performance. And obviously the Bulls keep surprising week in and week out since their first couple of games where they had a really slow start to the competition. And I thought with Victor now hitting his straps from at least 3 weeks ago, you can see that this Bulls team is starting to believe a little bit more. Really happy for my good mate Frans Ludiker. He deserves success. He's really a warhorse. And,
I think they would have been gutted that they drew the game though eventually.
I think they'll be very disappointed in that. But it's also a good lesson. It's a lesson for these young Bulls players that you can't ever take your foot off the pedal because it'll come back to bite you. These teams, especially the New Zealand teams with a lot of steppers, they're going to play to the final whistle. And the Chiefs are not champions for no reason. They're champions because they've got the right stuff. And they know what it takes to win home and away. So, I thought the Bulls played really well. And like you correctly say, Blades, they will be a bit disappointed. I think the game that I wanted to touch most on was the Stormers-Reds game.
Yeah.
And I just felt that in that game, as much as the Reds felt that they were the victims in South Africa of some poor decision-making, as we've touched on last week, I thought they were the beneficiary of a lot of decisions that happen in their game, decisions and non-decisions. And one of them, which I'd like to hit on, was the aerial assaults, the constant aerial assaults that happen to the Stormers in the line-out. It's not so much that that it doesn't happen in games, but for me, when you're throwing your pods into the opposition and then landing on top of them or crushing them, as happened on at least 4 occasions in the game, perhaps more, for me, this is coached. And the reason it's coached is because you don't want the Stormers to have the maul, the facility of the maul, which they're so lethal at. You don't want that facility to be open. I thought Chris Pollock and his assistants did not hit on the right notes here. And what it allowed is the Reds to get away with stopping at source a potential weapon of the Stormers. I thought that was poorly done, and I think there was a lot of...
Okay, sorry to butt in, Jono. Just explain to us what the Reds were doing.
So basically, there's a number of things that you do. So one of them is you throw the jumper into the other jumper, and you unbalance him. That happened in front of the grandstand. I'm not sure the exact minute at the moment.
Yeah.
But probably between the 60th and 70th minute, there was a case of that. There were 3 other instances, 2 with crushing. Crushing means that you take the man at the apex of his jump and you land on top of him. And so when you land on top of him, it's called crushing because it's almost impossible for the maul setup to be done correctly. And
in other words, both players go to ground immediately.
Yes. So you take him to ground while he's still in the air. So if you're contesting for the ball, like reasonably contesting for the ball, so obviously there will be a little bit of contact. But what you can't do is land on top of the jumper of the opponents. And so for me, this is coached. This is not an accident that it happens. It's commonly known that it's coached, and it's a commonly known technique for stopping mauls.
Yeah.
Okay. If the safety is not executed correctly, then obviously entry from the open side of the lineout, so not the blind side, the open side, players coming in from the angle, taking the back support out. These things happen on numerous occasions in that particular game. And whilst I must say I'm not a mess, I'm not going to give the Stormers like a hell of a lot of credit for their enterprising and the fact that they're playing such good rugby. I don't think they're playing bad rugby at all. They're trying to find their way again, and by finding their way, it's about using the weapons that they're best at. And in this particular game, they weren't really allowed to use this maul weapon, which they are so good at. In addition to that, I was going to point out that I felt there are still some teams that are taking out players who do not want to be involved in the ruck. So in other words, in a post-tackle situation, players are flying in and tackling players of the opposition, in this particular case, the Stormers. And this is happening on a regular basis with a few teams in particular, the Reds being one of them.
Yeah, there was one incident, and I don't remember quite who. I think it was in the Crusaders game, where quite blatantly the player took a player out well away from the ruck, and the referee picked it up immediately, which was obviously good refereeing and was a classic example of what you guys have been talking about.
Yeah, so I think Chris Pollock is a world-class referee. He's certainly in my top 10 in the world. I don't think that he hit on the right notes in this game, and I don't think it was a good game, a particularly good game to watch. But I just when teams are struggling, they really need sometimes the bounce of the ball, a couple of decisions to go their way. And I know some of these Stormers guys, and they'll be, they really want to turn their season around after a very poor start. It's not like their players are, have gone from very good players to pretty average players. I think they've hit a little bit of bad luck. They should have beaten the Crusaders. They weren't that far off against the Chiefs. They scored with about 10 minutes to go. There was only 4 points in it. So, I feel for them. I think they're a very good South African team, and they probably deserve a little bit better than they're getting at the moment.
Yeah, they and the huge injury problem to vital players. Gary Lake, just also great to hear Ref JK backing me. I'm not quite sure what that's about. Horn deserved a yellow card. Loved when Busy told the ref they would sort it out. How, how do you take that?
Yeah, Blades. I mean, for me, I'd laugh it off. You know, the experience of Bismarck. I know that he will not sort it out. He's just saying it because what he's trying to get the message across to the referees that, you know, that if they're not going to take action, they must expect the worst. The reality is that the players are very professional these days, and they don't. It's not the law of the jungle as it was 20, 25 years ago, and before that, where if a player was on the wrong side, he used to get a good shoeing, as they say.
Yeah. Any other points? You tell that bakery van to just keep quiet for a while.
Sorry.
Any other points out of the weekend before I start asking you a couple of just general questions about your career?
Blades, look, I think we're seeing some very what other people think are strange results. I mean, me personally, I tipped the Rebels to beat the Brumbies. I think the Brumbies are exceptionally combative, and they really test the referee's resolve at the breakdown. And I think Jaco Peyper handled that expertly, really well. I mean, he had the benefit of having refed them a couple of games before against the Waratahs, where I thought Michael Checker, the coach of the Waratahs, was quite right in his, I wouldn't say anger, but in not being happy with the way that the breakdown was being officiated. And I think Peyper handled it excellently in this game. If you're going to be willful at the breakdown and not listen to what the referee is communicating to you, because we understand as much as the players that it is a very difficult area of the game, but when we are quite clearly communicating and players are just doing whatever they want, well, then they've got to expect the worst. And it's no fun for us to, like I've said many times, it's no fun for us to dish out yellow cards, but the players and coaches of all the other teams are expecting you to do it, because otherwise it does not create a fair contest. And so, once again, I think the experience and the fact that Jaco Peyper did a fair amount of preparation and had good experience in refereeing this team allowed him to get what was right and take not only action but increase the sanction so that the Brumbies couldn't get away with tactics that they had in previous matches.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really well done. I was quite surprised with the Hurricanes Crusaders result, as I'm sure everybody else was as well. But the reality is that as well as the Crusaders have been playing, and as good as their team looks on paper, they have lacked cutting edge this year. And I don't know what the exact reason is, but they've got a lot of lateral movement and not enough cut and thrust. And they were still bossing the game against the Hurricanes. But, there's two teams that have got really superior strike power if they get the game going. One of them is the Blues, and the other one are the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
And they showed it in this game. The winning score was, for me, the individual try of the season so far. Sorry about the noise.
No, that's fine. It's one of those things that the other thing is, I think that Conrad Smith is in the general public's eye a very underrated player.
Yes, Blades, I agree with you there. I don't think you can have a team with 15 ball carriers or 15 steppers, and I think sometimes you need the brains in the team to sort of glue the team together, or a player who hits 40, 50 tackles and post tackles to form the rucks to clear the ball so that it comes out quickly. And I agree with you. I think Conrad Smith is in the All Black team because they recognize, I don't think physically he's one of the best. I think he's probably one of the worst. But he is an exceptionally smart player, and he reads the game very well.
Yeah. Leon has tweeted us and said, is going in on the ruck shoulder first a penalty with a warning, or should it be a yellow card immediately?
There is no clear answer to that. It depends on each scenario.
there's no clear answer to that. You say each
Yeah,
scenario.
well, look, so Blades, it's the same thing as saying what is a punch? Is a punch a red card or a yellow card? It
Yeah.
depends on the scenario. It depends on the referee's view as to the seriousness of the offence.
Okay. One little thing in terms of the laws that I've noticed that the public, particularly the public at rugby matches, don't appreciate. And just if you could clarify this for me as you know, our top referee, I find very often when a player is on the touchline and he jumps up and hits the ball in field and lands outside the field, and the assistant referee puts his flag up, there's a huge amount of booing.
Yeah.
And
So are you asking whose ball it should be?
I'm just asking. Yeah, I'm saying, what does the law say? Just from you as a top referee, tell the people what happens. A guy jumps up, hits the ball in field when he's off the ground, but lands in touch.
Yeah, look, Blades, it used to be where the plane of the touchline used to be the determining factor. Now it's where the player's feet are, so where the player's feet land, and so that would be a critical factor for the assistant referee to determine whether the ball goes to the kicking team or the receiving team.
Okay. So, but I mean, just clarify for me, if the player jumps up in the air, okay, and hits the ball in midair, back into the field of play, but he lands in touch, then it's not right, is it?
No. Look, so like I said, it used to be the plane of the touchline.
Yeah.
Now it's the plane of the touchline and where he lands. So
Okay. If he lands in touch,
yeah. Yes.
then
Then
the ball is out.
Yes, then the assistant referee would have to make a decision based on where the ball was kicked from. So if it was kicked outside the 22...
No, let's not overcomplicate it. All I'm saying is I have noticed at Ellis Park, I've noticed it, Loftus, and I've noticed it on television when a player jumps up, hits the ball infield, but he lands in touch, and the referee's assistant says it's out. The crowd go dilly and boo like crazy.
Yeah.
So it is in fact out. The ball is out.
The ball is out.
Yeah.
The decisions by and large have been correct. I don't really have a big issue with
No, I'm just referring to the crowd reaction, because the crowd, a lot of the people don't seem to understand that
yes.
it is out.
Blades, you hit the nail on the head. I think it's because the law has changed. So not so much the law, but the way that we've been told to interpret the law has changed over the last decade, and that's the reason why the public are confused, and correctly so. And perhaps there needs to be a little bit more education so that we don't get that confusion.
Okay, another one that appears to be a little bit of a problem is a fullback gets the ball, let's say, from a kick downfield, and he then kicks the ball ahead with players on his side ahead of him.
Yes.
When can they move forward?
They can't move forward until either he runs past them, or the opponent catches the ball and kicks, or the opponent catches the ball and passes, or the opponent catches the ball and runs 5 meters. Those are the only times where they can move forward.
So when he's run 5 meters, they can move forward.
No, not here. The kicker must either go past them, then they can run forward,
or somebody behind him.
Or somebody behind him, correct?
Yeah, right.
Or the opponent must either kick the ball or catch and run 5 meters.
Okay. All right. We have clarity on that.
Yeah, nothing the opponent does besides those things will allow you to run forward. So you have to hold your position until they either run 5 meters or kick it or pass.
Yeah. Okay. clarification on that. Another one coming in through the gate. I think a lot of people don't quite understand that. Let's say a ruck is formed. Okay, and there's let's say a player who's running back to get onside but never quite gets onside, and then
Sorry.
no, it's okay. And then starts taking part in the play. He's running back to get onside. Okay, his opposition heel the ball, present the ball from the ruck, and then he turns around and gets involved in the play. A lot of spectators will boo a referee for giving a penalty in that situation.
Yes, and the penalty is 100% correct. So basically, the issue is, was a ruck formed, which you just said. The ruck was formed. When the ruck is formed, then it means that there are offside lines across the field, and so those players that are retiring have to get into an onside position before they can participate in the game again.
Even if the ball emerges and goes down 3 sets of hands.
No, once some. But what's in effect going to happen, Blades, is that they're going to be retiring, and then somebody from their own team will put them on side. Someone from their own defensive line will put them on side.
But if they don't, they're offside and a penalty should be given.
Yeah,
no matter how far the ball has gone down the back line of the opposition.
Yeah, because the player was never onside.
Yeah.
So nothing the opponent does in that situation makes you onside. Nothing puts you onside. You have to make an effort to get onside. You can't participate in the game from an offside position. So the only thing that'll put you onside is when your when your own teammate runs past you and puts you onside.
Okay, got it, Jono.
Sorry. I just think, Blades, we have to make it clear also to the public that the critical part of this conversation is what you said about a ruck being formed. In some instances, the ruck is not formed, in which case these retiring players are not offsides. They're actually onside.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Very good point.
There's the critical difference is, has a ruck been formed, yes or no?
Okay.
And if the ruck, and there's 2 different laws that apply if the answer is yes or no.
Okay. Jono, we're going to leave you with your coffee now. Thank you for being with us. There's no Varsity Cup rugby this week. Or is it the Young Guns against and the Corsairs League finals tonight? I'm not quite sure. Certainly,
yeah, I think there are a few finals tonight, and I think I stand to be correct, but I think it's the B section final.
Yeah,
tonight.
Varsity Shield,
and it's obviously very important for those teams to be able to compete. I've had first-hand experience of this Varsity Cup and how good it is for South African rugby. And I remember, I know you would know this, but I remember varsities being really strong in and around the time where I started getting involved in rugby in the 70s and 80s. And I'm sure it was like that in the 60s when you were playing. And I just think it's, I think Francois Pinaar and his troops and Duitse Bosman have done an incredible job to get this competition into the high profile that it deserves. Really, it's been an amazing learning curve for me being at UCT, but also just such a fun event that I've been so proud to be a part of.
Great, yeah, and of course they've now got the Community Cup that is starting a little bit slower, I think, than Varsity Cup, but is starting to get off the ground. I was out in the East Rand the other night doing Boksburg against Brakpan, and in fact I went out there with a little bit of sort of trepidation, but it turned out to be a really good game and a good gees and vibe out there, so it was really good. So I think they've done that's also getting off the ground. Fabulous stuff.
Yes, and I agree with you, Blades. These communities, they really deserve to, if they love their rugby and they're passionate about it and they're able to administrate their clubs correctly, I think it's it's a really good tool for South African rugby because we've got to service all the demographics, and the reality is that you can see how they struggle. Like Polokwane as an example, they're struggling to do the business in the Vodacom Cup, but perhaps in the Community Cup, or there are teams that, like you correctly say, the Brakpan Springs, those type of teams that their communities live for their rugby, and they're actually bloody good at it.
Yeah.
If you look at how well they did last year, the East Rand in the Community Cup, I mean, I don't think it's a fluke. I think you'll find that they'll do bloody well again this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Jono, well, we're going to leave you there. Thank you once again for joining us, and have a great week in your build-up to the final next Monday.
Thanks, Blades. Lovely to chat to you again, my friend. Take it easy.
You too. Ciao.
Balls.co.za